is I am actually starting my recording for the lecture today. And that way, if anybody misses for a variety of reasons, I understand. Family, health, those are things that are more important than missing a single class of chemistry, right? I don't put my course above you getting surgeries done or getting things that are necessary done or any of that sort of stuff, okay? Okay, all right. Now, the percentages in health, we can have a variety of percents. What is a percentage again? Okay, should you ever have 110% in these cases? No. So a percent is always going to be a portion divided by the total. Okay? So whenever you're looking at a percentage, it should normally be less than 100%, unless you're doing something very, very specific with it, like looking at stock returns. Okay? NVIDIA went up 180% this year. Right? Okay, so the percent active ingredient, this is going to be because of the high potency of medicines, we have to use a lot of binders, and so the percent active ingredient is typically very, very low for most medicines. In fact, it's usually around 1%-ish. Okay? And that allows them to much more accurately measure out that active ingredient so they don't overdose you. Okay? Theoretically. Do the doctors sometimes get a little aggressive on the medication and overdose their patients? Oh, yeah. I've had to call the script on my mother's stuff. God, this will be 7 times now. Yeah. So, she has 3 doctors right now, and 2 of them are really good, and 1 of them is not good. I swear that guy's trying to kill her. Okay, so the percent of an adult dose. Now, if you have something that weighs significantly less than an adult, and this is actually one of the problems that comes up in medicine quite often. There's 2 big problems that come up in medicine. That is, 1, dosages are based on body weight, right? If you have a big 300 kilogram, like 500 pound person, they're going to take a lot more medicine to have something happen, right? Okay. What about like alcohol? Alcohol is a drug, okay? And all drugs can be used as medicine, okay? Do you know the difference between medicine and a drug, an illegal drug? What's the difference? I called y'all on it, didn't I? Mm-hmm. Does anybody want to try?
Is it one is measured correctly and there's like cleaner?
Yeah, responsibly measured and administered. Yeah, exactly. So a medicine is responsibly administered and measured. And so you go to a doctor to get the administration done, a pharmacy to get the administration done, right? And they are responsible in the cleanliness of the substance, the purity would be the official chemistry words for it, which is what you're here to learn, right? Like, for example, the difference between fentanyl that's given to you by a hospital and fentanyl that's given to you on the street is purity to a degree, but that's not actually true in most cases. The fentanyl that's coming into the United States is from pharmaceutical companies, mostly in China. Okay? About 80%, 90% of it, depends on the year, comes from Asia. Okay? And that has more to do with customs than it does anything else. That's just because a lot of the drugs are manufactured, period, medicines, period, in Asia. Okay? So don't get anything weird in your heads. So, what the major difference between fentanyl that you would get on the street and fentanyl you'd get in a hospital is that you're being responsibly administered by a professional who's carefully measuring out the dose and checking your response to it, right? And then they're doing this in such a way that it's very hard for you to OD on it or take enough to get high. That's why they do very low concentration pills. The pills then have very slow releases. Okay? Do you know what happens if you crush one of those pills and snort it? You have a fast reaction, and it's no longer carefully administered, and so that's a drug. That was actually the narcotics epidemic. Okay? Most narcotics are really not that different from heroin, to be very honest with you. The big difference between them is that a narcotic is very carefully administered as a pill, so it has a slow release. And so you don't get high as well. Okay? If you crush it up or if you administrate it by injecting it, it's basically heroin. Okay? There isn't much difference. So keep this in mind whenever you're thinking about dosages, that the same drug, giving somebody the same drug does not necessarily mean you're going to get the same response. Okay? Or administering the same drug to yourself is a very, very, very dangerous route, because you are going to be impaired in your judgment and by that drug, right? And so it's very, very easy to over or under administrate. Okay? This is why doctors have a big problem with taking narcotics and taking drugs behind the scene and then going out of control, despite the fact they know how to properly administrate the drug. Is because if you take the narcotic, you're no longer going to be thinking well and rationally, and you start popping the pills all over the place, right? Yeah. Anyways, so children weigh a lot less than adults, and so they're often going to be administered a percent of the dose that's required for an adult. Realistically speaking, this should actually be done for body weights, period. So, for example, women on average should actually get a lower dose of the drug than men would. Okay? How a responsible doctor or medical professional handles this is they start you on very low doses, and then they slowly ramp it up, monitoring your reaction. Okay? How an irresponsible medical professional handles this is they start you on a medium or high dose of the drug and go, woo! Okay? And then you end up calling in because you start seeing gorillas in the backyard and a space invasion because they lowered your blood pressure to 40. Yeah. By the way, that's a real case. Okay. Now, percents in nutritional labeling. You will notice that the nutritional labels list the amounts of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, as well as daily percent daily value, percent DV. This is trying to show the contribution of a single serving to the suggested daily dietary requirement. The validity of those dietary requirements is heavily questioned right now, actually, but at least gives you some idea of what's going on with that, right? Okay. Now, we've talked about classifying matter. So we have the classifying the basic forms of matter. We have the classifying matter as a pure substance or mixture, right? And once we've classified it as a pure substance or mixture, if it's a mixture, we can further classify it. Homogeneous versus heterogeneous. Pure substances go elements or compounds. Now, when we talk about elements and compounds, we have to start thinking about the periodic table, right? And so the elements are the things that are on the periodic table, and those elements are arranged according to periods and groups. The groups are the vertical columns. They share similar chemical properties. The periods are the ones that go down from the top. Period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the rows of our periodic table, right? And so the rows of our periodic table, they actually share things like they are a sequential numbering of the number of protons, okay, or the atomic number. 1, 2, 3, 4 going across, right? And then going down. 1, 2 actually going across, then 3, 4. You get the idea, right? Okay, so we can locate the metals and nonmetals on the periodic table. Where are the metals again? The left and down, right? So left and down. Where are the nonmetals? Top right. Yeah, the opposite of the metals, right? Literally, nonmetals are everything that's not metals. Okay? Where's the stuff that's kind of halfway in between? The stair steps, yeah. That little zigzag line on the periodic table, right? Okay. So we can identify the number of atoms for each element in a chemical formula by looking at the reactions. This is the rest of the study guide. This is the key things you would want to study from this chapter and take away from it. Okay. We will be using this material in the next chapter. Everybody good with that so far? All right, then we are done with this chapter. Now, we're going to move on to chapter 2.